When I saw the first open call for Urboteca, I said, okay, let's try this, because somehow it sounded like a match with my interests at that moment. The project presented itself as a way of interaction between academic specialists and residents, and with the aim of building a better urban experience. And this is what sounded interesting for me.
It was about trying to understand what another way of being an architect could look like, and what other ways of acting do we have and can we find together.
My inner motivation to apply to Urban Education Live and Urboteca was to try to understand how I could work in a more interdisciplinary fellowship, let's say, because I wanted to make an experimental, educational, interdisciplinary center at one point in this life. So their approach to what education and experimentation means, and their open call really spoke to me about this. So there was a calling.
I chose joining Urboteca Fellowship Program because I was searching after finishing my master's to have a transition between university and my working life, to say so. And I read the description and I thought this would be really interesting for me because I finished urban design. And many times the topic in urban design was how to get people involved in their communities.
I would say that each session was well organized by our mentors. They balance the practical work and the theoretical readings.
On a pedagogical level, I think it was an example of working with different knowledges, where the facilitators offered the fellows the tools and resources, allowing them at the same time to use them in a very personal manner and in a space that was not defined by any kind of power structures, and that made really meaningful conversation possible because of the interdisciplinarity of the team and the many people we met. I wish I had more time to put in the activities on the one hand, but looking back, I think it was enough for the task.
I think the curriculum and the format was very flexible somehow, because I've understood a little bit of everything, and I could say just a little bit because my background is very different, so I had to catch up, and somehow I feel I didn't get all the insights that other participants had.
It was better than in the university because the project was real. It was this real effect of the project, which in university it was like, you get the grade and then the project is done. But now working with people from different disciplines and in a real project was a good practice to understand each other as a team, but also how to communicate with people outside this box of experts, let's say so. And it was always on weekends, which was actually nice, but not always enough in relationship with the people outside in the community.
I understood way better what anthropology means and how one can interact with a resident beyond the scientific kind of relationship. Somehow I managed to adapt some of the methodologies I've learned at Urboteca in my future projects.
It helped us all understand what participation could actually mean in a bottom-up framework, and understanding what can we do and what is not our job in this specific kind of project. It really helped that the people were from different backgrounds, the facilitators and also the fellows. Of course, when neighborhoods are made from scratch, it's perhaps more easy to use your different knowledges in creating an ideal space. But when a neighborhood already exists and it lacks public spaces and facilities and places where people can meet, it's actually, I understood how we should proceed in learning from the people who live there.
Looking back at the experience, there are a lot of things that are still with me, and I all the time I make references to what I've learned at the fellowship.
What I gained most from the project was testing out a lot of methods of research or doing field work or trying to involve other categories of people, networking with the team, like meeting a lot of cool people from different disciplines and being in contact with them also after finishing the project.
There is a need for a close cooperation between professionals, between residents and researchers with different backgrounds.
I think it's very interesting how this concept of participation is put to use, because it's very different for professionals who actually have the methodological tools, and the public administration who, of course, tends to use them as a populist way of achieving their goal. So I think participation put to work in a good way should be a kind of process where after which both the professionals and the participating public gains something.
Interdisciplinarity was always a dream of mine without actually knowing it, because I've studied in film school, and somehow at the time when I was studying, everything was supposed to be in this specific definition. The fellowship really fulfilled my need to work more interdisciplinary and have different approaches to the same field, because it's not only one truth and not only one perspective.
You have to speak with people out there to see how they understand their neighborhood, and also try to communicate to them that you are not a problem solver.
Another way which this experience helped me was that I could see or understand this urban experience from a different point of view. I would like at some point to take another step in my career and to focus on landscape architecture. And I think in that field, all the things I've learned at Urboteca, at this project, will really help me.
It influenced me in the way that it deepened some questions that I was already asking myself. And the most extreme form of this question is: should I ever build anything? Is this really necessary? And if not, what other ways of acting do I have, and what are the other options?
The fellowship completed my professional formation in the sense of how do you approach a space that you do not know? How do you walk into that place? And how do you look at architecture from a different point of view, not only at the exterior and its beauty, but its functionality and how it was built, and for who it was built, and what was the approach, who has access to this kind of buildings. When I'm looking back at it, I know how much it helped and how much of its concepts and theory and exercises I took from it, because I'm also kind of approaching them myself when I'm, let's say, teaching. It could be a very incipient idea that we're working on with a group of people as well, interdisciplinary, and we're thinking how to take back not to take back, but how to bring this conversation in an open space and in a public space about street harassment.
I can use it currently also only on a theoretical level, because now I'm currently working on more classic urban planning. I plan on going a little bit back to research. I think it will help me out in my future research, because I also plan to research the everyday life of people, how they act in urban context, and how this can be a resource for planning and design.